I think people forget that they can just talk. A lot of the time, there's something that we want to say, and for whatever reason, we decide that it has to pass these filters in our mind. But a lot of the time, it's really not that deep. For example, I know that if I've been to any kind of group or any kind of event that I'm new to it and other people are new to it, if I have a question to ask one of the organizers, like, oh, what does this instruction mean? Like, can you explain it again? Usually, other people have the same question. It's very rare that I'm on my own if I have a question. So we need to stop casting so much judgment on ourselves. Like, if we have a thought that we want to say, a lot of the time we can just say it. And in my example, I'm saying that a lot of people, if we have something to say, a lot of people will resonate with that. But even if they don't, even if people don't resonate, you can still say it, because showing people who you're not, I believe it's as important as showing people who you are. You could argue it's more important. And that's the way I see talking in general. I think we all, well, first of all, it's a human desire to express yourself. But another part of that is that if we don't express ourselves, expressing ourselves is the one signal that we have that we can show people who we are and attract the type of people who would like someone like us in their lives. And usually those are the same people who we would like in our lives. So if we don't talk, we're removing a signal that cool people that we would love to have in our lives, would have used to notice us, to pick us out from a crowd. It's so important that we get our thoughts out there, because it's how we find our people. I truly believe that. And not only that, not even just for people that we want to keep in our lives. I can't count the number of times in my life where I've had an unexpected but surprisingly wholesome conversation with a stranger that didn't turn into any long-term connection, but yet when they did happen, not only do I remember it to this day, but also I remember it lighting me up. I remember it being something that was a highlight of my day. And usually, from what I could tell, it's the same for them. I won't forget a recent time where I'm on the bus and there's a lady sat next to me who is doing knitting. And this is one of those days where, I'm sure we will have these, where I was like, I'm not going to use my phone while I'm on the bus. I'm just going to sit and I'm going to be in the world, and I'm going to wait till I find my stop. I'm not going to use my phone at all until I get off. And so now that I'm sat next to this lady who seems to be either knitting or crocheting, I just think to myself, I wonder what she's making. And so I do something revolutionary. I turn and I ask, hey, what are you making? And to my surprise, there wasn't really any like friction or awkwardness. She just turned to me and said, oh, I'm making a scarf for my niece. And I said, oh, that's cool, but isn't it summer? Because it was summer at the time. And she said, yeah, but if I make it now, then I'll have made it in time for winter. And I'm like, oh, that's genius. And I just remember, it was just something that put a smile on my face. I got to talk to someone. I was expecting to just sit alone on the bus. And I was expecting to sit in silence because I decided not to use my phone. But I ended up having a fun conversation. And when my stop came, it always felt like it was too soon, because I was like, oh, I was enjoying this conversation. And, you know, we both parted ways. And this is just such a cool example of when we speak to people, we don't know who's going to turn into a long-term connection, but also the ones that aren't a long-term connection, those mean a lot too. I'm sure there's studies on this, those little in-between interactions that we have that just make us feel more alive. It makes us feel like we're just not alone in this world. And the last thing I want to say is that it can be very tempting to not allow ourselves to say what we want to say in situations where we don't actually have to talk. It would be completely fine. Like if you notice someone has an interesting hat on your way to the shop, you can easily not say that, and it's fine. But I think the problem with this is that if you reserve your thoughts for only if you're not speaking your thoughts in moments where it doesn't really matter, then that means you're reserving your thoughts for times where it does matter, which means speaking is something you only do when the pressure's on. And so you start to associate speaking with high pressure, with high stakes. And I have personal experience of that. I have experience of being this introverted person who only speaks when I'm in a situation where it matters, when I'm at a networking event, even though I don't go to so many now, but back when I used to go to those, when I'm in a job interview, or when I'm in just some situation where I want to make a good impression. I think if we reserve our words for times where we care about a certain outcome, then speaking becomes this really high pressure, difficult thing that we don't want to associate with. But I found that if we just let ourselves talk when the stakes are low, then talking when the stakes are high becomes easy, because there's no difference. So that's what I would encourage, because I found so much use out of this. My life has gone so much better now. I'm not perfect, but I don't stop myself from expressing my thoughts as much as I used to, because the reality is it's not that serious. And a lot of the time, you'll be so surprised that so often people are thinking the exact same thing that we're thinking. And as soon as, like, we've probably been on the other end of it. Someone says something that you were thinking, you're like, wow, thank goodness someone said it. So yeah, I encourage it a lot.